I'm going to share with you 7 ways to how you can make £1 million in property or in business. Now, this is the cool thing about these 7 ways I'm going to share with you about how to make £1 million. All 7 of these ways to make £1 million, I have actually done. Not only have I done all 7 of them, but I've also made £1 million using each strategy. Yes, I'm a multi-millionaire. So maybe you could just take one. If I can do all 7, maybe you just take one. Make £1 million. Cool. Then you invest that, put that to work, and massively increase the quality of your life. The first way is company valuations. Let me give you an example, right? And I've done this many times. Let's say you want to be a millionaire. What is a millionaire? Well, a millionaire is someone that has £1 million net worth. So that means that if you add what they own and then you minus what they owe, whatever's left, if there's £1 million there, then your net is £1 million. Let's take a company like deal sourcing, okay, which was my first big business. Deal sourcing is where you find deals, property investments, you package them, and you sell them to investors. Now, on average, if you're charging £3,000 as a fee and you're getting £3,000, well, if you want to make £1 million from deal sourcing, the average person that's not smart to business will be thinking, well, £1 million divided by 3,000 means I need to sell 333 deals to make £1 million. And not only that, but I've got to keep all the profit, which is not possible because you've got expenses and you've got running costs. 333 deals to sell that many deals and keep all the money is not easy to become a millionaire. So what's the fast way? Company valuation way. Well, I'll tell you. The fast way would be if you were to say, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to sell 333 deals to become a millionaire and save all of them. No. I'm going to sell 2 deals a week. I'm going to go real hardcore and sell just 2 deals a week. Now, if I'm selling 2 deals a week and I'm making £6,000 a week, that is per year, 6,000 a week. There's 52 weeks of the year. That's 312. So suddenly it's more realistic. 312 grand in a year. So how do you become a millionaire from that? If you've got a business that's doing 312 grand a year, well, within deal selling, you only need 2 or 3 people. Good people. This is what I did with deal selling. If you've got a deal selling company that's selling 2 deals a week, if you can hire a managing director and an assistant and a part-time bookkeeper, the business is pretty much running itself. Let's say you're paying 100 grand in wages and you've got 2 people. Like one's on 60 grand, one's on 30 grand, and you've got a part-time bookkeeper. That means now you've got about 200 grand a year profit and you're just overseeing the business. You're not the person that's doing everything in the business. Now, you've got a saleable business. You've got your investor list, you've got your company, you've tried and tested, you've got your staff, you've got your operations manual, you've got your organizational structure. Now, if you've got 200 grand a year profit coming in, times that by 10, that's 2 million. Well, a 10x multiplier for a business valuation is pretty standard. So you could very easily set up a business like deal sourcing, for example, structure it, systemize it, employ a few members of staff, and get £1 million valuation on the company. And if you own a company that's worth £1 million, if it's £1 million company, then guess what that means? You are a millionaire. That's one way of how you can become a millionaire, through companies and company valuations. Second one is rent to rent. Now, you might think when you think of rent to rent, oh, you know, I haven't got much money and I've only got a few grand and I'm struggling, haven't got enough money to buy property, so I'll do rent to rent instead. Do you know who does rent to rent? You know, most hotels do rent to rent. Premier Inn don't own most of their hotels. 95% of them are rent to rent. I took a rent to rent on maybe 3 months ago, a hotel. Not even a big hotel. 34 rooms, nice, beautiful, Cambridgeshire hotel, rent to rent. I'm paying 100 grand a year. That's bringing me in a profit. I mean, I've only had it a few months, but my projections on that are it's going to bring me in about 150 grand profit after all expenses a year on a rent to rent. And the great thing is I also have the option to buy it after 10 years, but that's another story. You know, rent to rent on a big scale, you can easily have not just £1 million company, but if you've got a few of them over a few years, you got £1 million. Quite straightforward with rent to rent. Third way that you can become a millionaire is through basic buy-to-let. I know buy-to-let is a bit boring because the reason it's boring is because the cash flow is boring. Because on average for a buy-to-let, let's say you buy a house for 200 grand and you rent it out for £1,500. Well, your mortgage costs are probably going to be around about £600-700, and then you've got a management company managing it, and then you've got your maintenance. You might be left with £300 a month profit. rubbish. So buy-to-let's boring. But here's the thing. When you've got a bunch of buy-to-let properties, let's say you've got 10 and they're each paying you £300 a month and you're making $3,000 a month passive income from your buy-to-lets. It's not amazing. You're a broker. You're making $3,000 a month from your buy-to-lets. Not life-changing. But, and this is what happened to me, if you buy a property for $200,000 and you put down, say, a 25% deposit of $50,000, right? So you put down $50,000 and you buy a $200,000 house. Houses go up in value over time. After a 10-year, on average, every 10 years, properties double in value. If you've got 10 of those and they're all $200,000 and they double in value, now you've got $400,000 per property. That's £4 million. Now, sure, you've got mortgages, but your mortgages are only small. How much would you be left with? So each property, if you put down $50,000 for a $200,000 house, if they double, that means you now got a $400,000 house minus your mortgage of $150,000. So each property has got equity of $250,000, £250,000. Equity, yours, your net. Times that by 10. If you've got 10 buy-to-lets and they double, that's 2.5 million. You know how many people become millionaires by mistake just by owning properties? If you own properties and sit on them, even if they're only making a little bit of money each month, over time, you could very easily become an accidental millionaire. You know how many millions of pounds I've made by mistake just by owning real estate? Number 4 is property development. Making £1 million in property development is not even a big deal. Most developers won't even touch an opportunity unless they're going to make 7-figure profits, which is at least £1 million. My first proper development, publicly documented in Lincoln, where we built houses from scratch, bought the land for 330 grand, spent £500,000 building 6 houses, that's 830, but then the end value was 1.4 million. That's $500,000 in 9 months from developing, from building. Now some of the developments that we're looking at, we bought a factory last year for $1 million and we're turning it into flats. We got planning permission to turn it into 48 flats and the end value is £6.7 million. There's many millions of pounds worth of profit in the deal. It's a banger. So property development is a way where you can make £1 million per development deal. But a lot of property developers are very, very rich because instead of waiting for capital appreciation or getting little drips of rent, you're pushing the value up and getting chunks of change. And then you can either sell or refinance. That's another story. You've still made millions of pounds to your net worth. Next, number 5. If you're enjoying the video, by the way, hit like. Everything I'm telling you, I've done. I'm not saying, here's how you can make £1 million theoretically. Every single one of these I've done. Number 5 is planning permission. So, for example, in 2020, a few years ago when we went into lockdown, I was finding pieces of land that didn't have planning permission, just grass, and was buying them on an option. So I was saying to the owner, how much do you want for the land? And the owner's not got planning permission, it's just a piece of grass. Oh, I'll have 100 grand. Perfect. I'll give you 100 grand in 12 months' time, subject to planning permission. And then he might go, oh, well, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll try and get planning myself. Or, okay, well, you've owned the land 14 years. Go for it. Oh, I haven't got the connections. I haven't got the... All right, how about this? I'll give you 10 grand now. And then in 12 months, I'll give you 90 grand to buy the land. If in 12 months I don't give you the 90 grand, you keep the 10, right? Things like that. In fact, that should be point number 5, should be how to make negotiations. Like, I've made many millions in negotiations, so that's point 5. But point 6 now is planning permission. In the real estate game, the profit is in the planning. You know how many times I've secured a piece of land and I've got planning to build 2 or 3 houses and I've not bothered to even build them. I've got the planning on the land, then I've got the option to buy it for 100 grand, but now the land's worth 300 grand. Okay. So why am I going to bother building? I haven't lifted a shovel at this point. I've got the option to buy for 100, and now I can just find a new buyer and pass it to them for 300 and pocket change the 200 grand. I made 1.6 million pounds doing this exact strategy across 6 sites during lockdown. When everyone was locked down and everyone was, waiting to go back to work, I was doing this. Walking around. It's about all you could do in lockdown. Walking around Buckinghamshire, the Midlands, finding bits of land, approaching the seller, negotiating, and then profiting from the planning using option agreements. And point 7 is basic residential purchase lease option agreements. Even now to this day, I just bought a property a few weeks ago and it was about 45% below market value. Not below market value from a year ago because houses have gone down. Below current true market value. And everyone's like, how did you do that? Because I agreed the price 7 years ago. You know how many deals, even when I was like a teenager, like 19, I secured, oh right, you want to sell your house? You want 200 grand for it? Listen, I'll give you 200 grand, but in 7 years. But right now, I'll take over the property. I'll take over the mortgage payments. And you might think, well, who on earth would sell their house like that? Who would let you buy their house in 7 years and agree the price today? For instance, people in negative equity. And guess what? There's loads of those right now. If you want to do more and you want to start doing deals like this, I'm running a property investors crash course where I'm going to be spending a full day finding these types of deals, right? At the Property Investor Crash Course, I'm going to be finding development deals, finding land opportunities, commercial to... Geez, there's loads more as well. Commercial to residential. I didn't even touch on that. There's so many ways that you can make millions of pounds, and it might not be quick, right? I'm not saying for a minute that you're going to be able to come to my £1 crash course, because that's how much my course is, £1, right? I lose money doing those training programs. I'm not saying you're going to find a deal and make £1 million. No. What you'll do is you'll learn to find deals. You might start by finding these deals and just passing them to investors and charging a fee. That would be a good way to start. And then you might start on a little small deal, a little small lease option. You might start with a buy to let, sit on it and wait. I'm not saying it's going to be fast. It's not fast, it's not easy, but I tell you what it is, damn worthwhile. And if you're going to work hard anyway, you may as well get rich. So I'd love to spend the day with you. I'll leave a link in the description where you can come down and spend one day with me for £1. Spaces are limited, so get booked on now, and I look forward to meeting you in person. Let's go.